I have to admit that this was probably the interview I was most nervous for because I admire you. And usually we're a little...
This was the interview I was most nervous for. Truth.
We're probably a little less professional normally.
I know.
Because
I'm being so well behaved.
Thank you, Tobin. Thank you. Because we admire you so much.
I'm wearing a turtleneck.
Welcome to TRS. We're very excited for this episode because we have Dean Willow Bay, Angel City owner, and hopefully a mentor to me in the future, coming on our show. But first, we have a little ditty about this butt that's right there on the floor.
That little butt.
As traveling athletes, entrepreneurs, and pet owners, it's important for us to share our experiences with managing personal finances and whatever life throws at us, especially during the busiest time of our year, the playoffs. That's why we're teaming up with our friends at Ally to bring you banking with this one, Bob. So this is going to be our third or fourth trip to championship weekend.
Yeah, but this is the first time that we'll be with our dear Bob.
What are some of the things you're spending on to prep for this road trip?
Dog-friendly hotels, puppy packages,
What's a puppy package?
It's at the hotels. They can get a puppy spa, massage.
Lucky dog.
I think there's probably like some cooling bed or something.
Ooh.
I hear they only give purified water to the dog.
That's just at our house.
That's us. What else? We bought Bob a car-friendly crate so that, heaven forbid, we have to step on the brake. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine.
Yeah.
Safest crate on the market.
Well, I haven't driven the coast, but I assume it's kind of windy.
Very windy.
And it's far, so hopefully she'll be comfortable and she'll be able to sleep.
She is much better in her car crate.
Oh, she loves a crate.
She's
or a place,
very well crate
or a home.
We worked hard for that.
What are some fun Bob experiences on the way that we're spending on?
Well, I think the entire road trip might be categorized as a fun thing for Bob that we're spending on. But I think we've picked all of our locations so that we were prioritizing the dog-friendly off-leash hikes. We are going to maybe get her a cute little dog luggage because she's got a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just realized that this morning.
Does she need a rain jacket? Is it going to be rainy? She does not know what rain is.
She does not need a rain jacket.
Oh.
You were vehemently against dog clothes until someone got you that Arsenal jersey for Bob.
Do we need to get her fully kitted for the game?
That is an expense I would consider.
Really?
Well, yeah. When it comes to budgeting for Bob's travel, what are some unexpected things you're considering?
Do we have to get Bob a ticket to the game?
Is Bob coming to the game?
What else would she do? Watch it from home?
Once again, thank you to Ally. Don't miss TRS Live at the Ally House during the NWSL Championship weekend.
We are constantly on the lookout for new pop culture moments, but sometimes we need to take a step back and reset. The same goes for your fitness routine. If you're looking to reset your workouts, the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus makes it easy to get back on track. Powered by Peloton IQ, Peloton's most intelligent training technology yet. Peloton IQ gives you real-time feedback that takes the guesswork out of every rep. It counts, corrects, and coaches you through each move so you can lift smarter, run stronger, and reach your goals faster. And because no 2 days or bodies are the same, the swivel screen lets you flow from a 30-minute run to a quick stretch or yoga session to wind down. You'll never get stuck in a rut when variety is built right in. It's smart, it's fresh, and it's definitely trending. It is more than equipment. The new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus is a tool for transformation. So let yourself run, lift, stretch, push, and go. Check out the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
It's safe to say we need to start learning more and talking more about women's bodies, especially women athletes and how our periods affect us at all levels. 1 in 2 teens drop out of sports because of their periods. And even at the highest level, there's still stigma. 75% of athletes fear leaking while competing, and 64% feel uncomfortable even talking about their periods with their coaches. It's time to change that. We should all be able to play freely without fear. This is about staying in the game, not sitting on the sidelines. That's why I love Salt, leak-proof underwear designed so you can play on, whether you're dealing with periods, sweat, or those surprise leaks. My favorite is the Seamless collection. It moves with you, stays totally invisible under leggings or uniforms, and keeps you feeling dry and confident throughout every workout. Salt's patented gusset is the thinnest and driest on the market, with moisture-wicking, odor-controlling layers and no added PFAs or harmful chemicals. It's soft, breathable, and performance-ready, like your favorite pair, just smarter. Plus, every pair replaces hundreds of disposables, and Salt's a certified B Corp, working to end global period poverty, helping over 150,000 women, and funding 1.3 million days of school for girls around the world. Because strength isn't about pushing through. It's about being equipped for whatever your body brings. Use code RECAP20 at salt.com for 20% off your next order. That's SAALT.com, code RECAP20.
Okay, real talk. I've been so tired lately, like coffee's not doing its job anymore. I hit that mid-afternoon slump and my gut just wasn't feeling great. Enter Symbiotica. Honestly, it's been a game changer. Their supplements are clean, high quality, and they actually make a noticeable difference. One that I'm completely obsessed with is their Lipsomal Vitamin C. It's fantastic for boosting immunity, supporting collagen production, and my skin has started to actually glow. I also started their new liquid colostrum, which tastes like vanilla sea salt. It supports my gut health, keeps my immune system strong, and even helps with hair and nail health. I can feel the difference in my energy levels and overall wellness. It's like finally giving my body exactly what it's asking for. The best part? Everything is delivered right to my door, so it's effortless to keep it part of my routine. So, if you're ready to support your health in a simple, effective way, go to symbiotica.com/recap for 20% off plus free shipping. That's symbiotica.com/recap for 20% off plus free shipping. Welcome, Willow Bay.
Hey, welcome to the Recap Show. It is truly an honor to have you here. Since the very first time I got an inkling that you might join the NWSL and Angel City, I looked forward to the opportunity to learn and grow under your leadership. And we are very excited that you agreed to come on the show. And I just found out you're a little bit reluctant to not be the interviewer. So how are you feeling?
So I'm feeling like I'm dying to ask you a ton of questions.
Should we just change this format?
Yeah. I also think it's so interesting that you say that because when I look at what you all are doing, what you two are doing, I feel like I have so much to learn from you about contemporary ways of expressing yourself, of engaging with audiences, of building community, of growing the sport. So thank you for teaching me things.
Thank you. I mean, you are so inspirational to all of us as players and former players because we've been fighting so hard to reimagine the business of women's sport and put women in positions of leadership and be the decision makers. And so to have you take the position that you did at Angel City and start to learn about soccer, the business of soccer and sport in general, it's really incredible. And I think it's the kind of the next evolution of the growth of the game is, you know, we talk a lot about players getting paid and our rights. But I'm really excited, especially as I've retired and going into this next chapter, to see women taking all sorts of roles. So I wanted to hear your opinion on where we are at the NWSL and in like women's sports in terms of getting the right people in the right positions to move forward.
That was a very eloquent summary of the journey that we have been on. So thank you for that setup. I think what we are seeing and living through right now is an historic moment in sports, not just women's sports. I think the ecosystem is being reshaped, reimagined, to use a word that I know you all feel strongly about, in profound ways. And we are seeing that at the youth level, we're seeing that at the college level, we're seeing that certainly at the professional level. And I think we're seeing it across sports, and nowhere is it more visible or pronounced than in women's soccer.
Mhm.
And I notice it in so many different ways, even in just the past year or so, because the rooms that I'm in look different. Sitting around the NWSL boardroom table, it's a sea of women alongside men, but it's a sea of women. When I think about the stories that we're highlighting, I think I was sharing, we produced USC Next Level Sports, and this year with women in sports and women's sports driving so much of the cultural conversation, the stories percolated to the top and emerged, and particularly when we are looking at the intersection of sports, media, business, technology, and culture. Women are taking their rightful place at the table, behind the mic, right in front of the camera, behind the camera, and certainly on the field, court, rink, all of it.
Awesome.
Willow, you are the dean of the School of Communication and Journalism at USC called Annenberg. I had the privilege of coming and speaking and getting to see firsthand just how beautiful, first off, this building is.
Tobin loves the college
I want to
campus.
go back to school. It's exceptional, but I was really inspired by it and inspired by the spaces that you're creating, especially for young people to go into journalism and media and communications. And what was it about this field that first drew you into it? And how do you feel like now in your position as the owner of Angel City, how you can use your passion and your expertise to drive women's sports and Angel City forward?
I should note that the building was funded by Wallace Annenberg, who was the daughter. She just passed away recently, and it has left a profound void for all of us. But she was the daughter of a media titan who founded our school in the 1970s, and we added journalism later. And she, second generation, became a legendary transformative philanthropist, but she was a journalist. And she wanted to build for her students, for our students, the best newsroom in Los Angeles. And that was the inspiration for the studios that you came and saw and visited. And so to have her as a role model, to have her as our guide and inspiring force, really means something very powerful, I think, to all of us. And then particularly for me coming in as the first female dean that the school has had. When I think about the role storytelling has, and whether that's journalism or the storytelling that goes into brand building and brand expansion and corporate communication and nonprofit communication, I think that's at the heart of sports. The best, as Jimmy Pitaro, the ESPN chief, says, the best dramas on television are unfolding right there on the field. And the nexus of storytelling, player storytelling, community building, and particularly community building in this very contemporary environment where everything looks different, I think is the through line between a career as a reporter, a career as a dean, and my role in helping to accelerate the growth of Angel City Football Club, at women's soccer and women's sports more broadly.
Yeah. Do you think that media is the single biggest growth factor in terms of driving revenue in sports?
I mean, media rights are the single biggest revenue driver, seconded by sponsorship. So I think those two things working together, but certainly the value of media rights is critical to leagues and then teams. Absolutely.
And why do you think women's sports, and I think we're starting to see, everything's historic, right? Everything's record breaking when it comes to women's sports. But why do you think we are still, I feel like, in a period of time where women's sports really haven't found where their media rights should be in this landscape of traditional media, and we haven't yet found where our value can really accelerate?
I think we're heading there.
Okay.
When I think about, I was on the air with a show called NBA Inside Stuff when the WNBA was launched, right, in 1997. And so I remember the early days of storytelling for the W. I also remember the days when the networks really wanted to cover it because it was a good thing to do. It wasn't yet a popular thing to do, to cover. The ratings were way lower than anybody had anticipated. And it's been on, just to give the W as an example, it's been on a steady growth trajectory ever since. But now the growth is explosive. And I think that's when I talk about the confluence of this being a historic moment in sports, it really is about bringing new audiences, right? Attracting, growing new audiences and using all the new storytelling platforms at our disposal to really help accelerate that growth. It's happening, and it is going to require additional investment, additional support. I think additional resources that include players telling stories, teams telling stories, leagues telling stories, in order to really make sure that we are both accelerating growth and then optimizing the monetization of that growth.
Well, it's a really exciting time for all of us. I would like you to tell us how you came to Angel City, what that decision was like, and why.
Oh, yeah, take us behind the curtain.
It was, the way I describe the decision, it was both incredibly well-grounded in data, in history, as short as it may have been, but also a little bit impulsive.
Love it.
And that was a combo.
She says it with a
As
smile.
by the way, for me, as all like important decisions have been.
Yeah.
There has to be a little bit of like the just go for it impulse, with a little risk associated, right? Or uncertainty associated. So I had obviously watched the founding of Angel City with great excitement. I'd actually followed LAFC's launch and building of the stadium. And I teach a sports class that's an immersion class where we go and visit a variety of companies across the sports and media ecosystem here in Los Angeles. And I really wanted to center women's sports. And then Angel City emerged, and it was the perfect combo of innovation, entrepreneurship, storytelling, and women's sports. And I would bring a class there every year in May.
Wow.
And we'd get a deep dive into the company before you were there, Christen. That was one of the first. And then so our students would do a project and present to the executives in the room. And the first one our students did was, who should we draft?
Wow.
Okay, kids, if you're,
Did anyone pick me?
Wasn't exactly hard. So every year I'd see the team grow from the inside. And then obviously I knew Julie and Natalie and Kara, the three co-founders. Just honestly, some of it was from the neighborhood, but followed their story very closely from afar. Went to games, took kids to games, took granddaughters to games. So understood how incredible the experience of sitting in that stadium and watching you play is, and the joy that you just feel in a very different way in that environment than you do even with the fun of all sorts of other sports. And then obviously at the same time, being in media, watching, as you said earlier, watching these records get broken at both the college and professional level year by year, and understanding the excitement of ESPN at covering, our sort of family business, if you will, covering more and more of it, and the enthusiasm that we were seeing build really just added to, I would say, the ground under our feet. And I say our because, I'm speaking of my co-owner, AKA my husband, Bob Iger, but who knew, obviously, in a very direct and immediate way, what was going on with ratings, media ratings around women's sports. And it truly came up one day that Angel City was selling a control stake. And I said, literally standing in the family room, "Is this something you'd ever be interested in?" And he said, "Absolutely." And the next morning we made a call and got into the process.
Oh my gosh. When we were prepping, we said, "I wonder which one proposed it."
My kids had always said, "Mom, do you ever want to own a sports team?" And I would always go, no. And then it was just this kind of confluence of factors that came together that, that led to it. Absolutely. And this is a jewel in Los Angeles. And one of the things we feel really strongly about is kind of local ownership who are members of the community, caring about the community at large, but also really treating this as the precious resource within and for our community that it is, as well as caring deeply about empowering women athletes to really reach their full potential and even set new limits for what that potential looks like. So all of those things came together at once.
That's so interesting. And the perfect storm brought you to the perfect place. Do you think that your perspective, which I'm hearing is really sports media, like your perspective of and your understanding of soccer and the NWSL came from a very different vantage point than Tobin and mine, right?
Absolutely.
You're looking at the way that people are talking about it. How do you think that that's helped prepare you as an owner?
So I think not being a world-class athlete is a little bit of a handicap in so many ways. But because I don't bring that perspective to the boardroom, and I don't bring that perspective as an owner. But given the significance of the connection between sports and media, there is no sports business without media. I think it's a very important viewpoint and expertise to bring to team ownership, but also to bring to our role on the NWSL board. It, particularly as you suggested, given the importance of media rights to our financial outlook and to the growth of the league and women's sports more broadly. So I think really thinking about media as inseparable from the rest of the enterprise and inseparable from the growth of the enterprise is really important.
And do you consider yourself a sports fan? And if before this?
Yes.
Yes.
What's interesting is, well, I now call it the soundtrack to my life. The volume gets turned up and down and the playlist changes over time. But I grew up with a sports-obsessed dad. We didn't just go, as a New Yorker, we didn't just go to giant games. We went to giant practices. My first crush when I was 6 or 7 years old was on a New York Giants player. I came home and told my mother, and she was like, "Get in line. Like, everybody has a crush on that guy." Then, we used to go to Ranger games, and my dad would say, in those days there were things called tickets. They were pieces of paper. When you gave your ticket to the guy, he was going to ask you for the starting lineup. So, I was one of the few, right? I'm one of the few 60-year-old women who knows Rod Gilbert and Eddie Jockman, who just passed away. And I read the obit of, these are the Rangers legends of the 1970s. So this was always the backdrop to my life. And then, flash forward to Bob and two boys who our home is a monoculture. It's all sports all the time as fans, but now that my two sons now work in sports. And then I worked in sports in between there, right? When I worked for the NBA, doing inside stuff for 8 years. So it really has again, I think the soundtrack is a great way of describing what sports has meant to me. I used to apologize for the kind of fan that I am because I do come for the stories. I don't come for the stats. I appreciate the stats and I appreciate the way the stats help tell the stories, but I've always come for the stories. And I realize now that that's not something we should apologize for, right? That's just in some ways I was ahead of my time, right? Because now so many people come for the stories, particularly a young generation of sports curious fans.
I love that.
I have some fun questions.
Okay.
A little maybe off course. She doesn't like when I do this.
I'm enjoying watching this unfold so much.
Are we going to get a stadium?
Oh, interesting. Would you like a stadium?
I would like a stadium. Here's why. I think that there's a lot of different plays in sports, right, to add value. I don't think, well, I'll say real estate is serious value, especially in a market like in LA. Obviously sharing a stadium like you referenced, LAFC, BMO, owners of that stadium. I think for Angel City to have its own stadium, that would be a game changer.
It is something that we are always looking at. You're absolutely right. In order to completely control your financial destiny, owning your stadium matters. On the other hand, we're in Los Angeles, one of the most complicated places to find real estate, to build, to develop in a gorgeous stadium. So there's no pressing need for a stadium. But I think it's something that we always think about. And we're always scanning the horizon.
How do we get it? What do we have to do?
Well, first we have to decide we're going to get it. I'm not sure we're there yet, to be honest. It is a billion-dollar enterprise,
definitely,
right? So it's not something that happens. It's not going to be the impulse decision that like diving into Angel City was. So let's be clear about that. But it is something that we look at really, really carefully.
Great.
Okay, in between your fun questions.
Oh, you get to, okay.
I wanted to hear, because one of my favorite things about home games this season was when I would walk past you and I was always trying to take a pulse. And you're sitting in your field suite with your co-owner husband, Bob. And I wanted to understand how it felt like from your vantage point, like you had bought into this. And that's like the most beautiful moment for us as athletes is the touch point with the community. And it's like the time to perform. How does it feel to be at an Angel City home game?
I'm getting a little emotional, actually. It's very, it's complicated, right? Because I'm getting emotional because there's this incredible sense of pride to be part of this endeavor. It makes me feel incredibly proud to support you all and to help you all soar and elevate your athletic ability, to elevate you as human beings, and to really drive the whole enterprise. It's an enormous feeling of joy and pride. The games are not so fun anymore because there's so many things to worry about. So they're exciting.
I thought you were talking about our results. I was like, ouch.
Well, that's part of it.
I mean, that's part of it,
yeah.
right? I mean, again, there's so many more dimensions to it being in this role than there are coming as a fan. So it's a little more complicated for sure. But it is a beautiful thing to see. I thought you were going to tell the story of after the games when Bob has a knack for standing right in the center of the, what do you call it?
We're running.
I know you're doing it. I think called something.
Running.
You're doing your laps. And invariably, I have to grab Bob out of the way because he's not realizing
I have told Tobin that I've had to sort of be like,
yes.
Bob, which is not an easy thing to do.
Wait. Have you guys had like discussions about like what type of owners you want to be? Because there's so many different personality owners in sports, right? You have the ones that feel like they're making the substitutions, right? That are like so close to the game.
Yes.
And then you have the ones that are way more removed that are taking like that don't even show up at games. You know, they're just looking at this as completely a business entity. Like, have you had that conversation?
This is a work in progress, I think. But the conversations we did have is that I said, I'm not going to make the mistake of a rookie owner and think that I know more about the sporting enterprise than the sporting experts, right? I mean, you know how many rookie owners, not often women, I might point out, but that come in and start making, you know, player changes. Like that was clear. We were going to respect the expertise, frankly, of all of the expertise, but it was most visible on the sporting side. And I think we are, we're not operators, right? We're not owner operators. And that was also very clear. We have, you know, Julie Ehrman, who's now our CEO and one of the co-founders. We have, again, expertise in place to respect. On the other hand, we are bringing resources and expertise to bear on this team to accelerate its growth and frankly, build for growth. And so that's where I see us adding value and I see us getting very involved.
When we talk about investing in women's sports, we're often thinking about the dollars. But I know that you and I share a thought that investment can be far beyond. And when we're thinking about how we grow the next generation of leadership in women's sports, the investment is quite vast. And we would love to hear you talk about how you really approach that.
So I love that question because I think what I love doing the most is investing in people and thinking about how to help people identify their potential and help them along their individual pathways. And I've always thought about that as a storyteller. I mean, storytelling in a lot of ways is that, you know, if you're actually trusted with telling a human being's story, you're helping them kind of activate and actualize their potential. When I look at the investment opportunities of resource investment opportunities across particularly women's sports right now, they are vast, right? It's investing in the resources, research, support around athletes, which again has historically in women's sports suffered from a lack of investment. It's an investment in thinking through how we build structures, teams, enterprises that really reflect the values we want to reflect and are structured in a way to support the growth that we want. And thinking about how we then create a pipeline, invest in our pipelines, our talent pipelines, player, you know, and both from the path to pro for players, for the path after pro for players, which, as you know, I'm really invested in helping to support. If we're going to grow the women's sports ecosystem the way I believe it can and should be grown, we need much more talent, business, right? Sports business talent coming into the ecosystem that's really well trained, in addition to having the passion for the sport. Because I think in some ways, sports as enterprises, particularly teams, have always attracted people who are passionate about the sport. That should be just the default. It's really what are the skills and what skills and expertise are you bringing that's going to help this enterprise and its people grow and live up to their and its potential. So I think thinking through what are the skill sets that we really need to grow these businesses moving forward? What are the skill sets that we need to really to support our players' development right? And have them reach their highest potential. And it requires a different kind of thinking about the investment that certainly requires dollars. All of it requires dollars. But it's not simply the dollars. It's some deep thinking about what are the key ingredients to growth.
I love how you said that. I heard you say earlier that you're not the operator. And obviously at Tobin and I's business, we run a values first business, and we have come into the reality of what that means, making day-to-day decisions and hiring as the person in charge. And it's really hard.
I would love to know if you would share, do you find yourself coming up against conflicts
Every day.
in values and decision making?
The tension is very real when you have to be the one who has the final say on things. And as much as you know about my personality, I really have a hard time when other people tell me, like, this is what you have to do. And yet I've had a really hard time when the buck stops with me, because I'm a little bit of an idealist. And when that becomes practical, this person or that person, this thing or that thing, more dollars, but, off-sea production, like things like that, it's been such an education. And I imagine, if you're not an operator, maybe you're not making day-to-day hires, but how do you think about leading a values-first organization, and how do you evaluate success? Because sometimes the only saving grace I have is zooming out and saying, overall, is my team happy, diverse, supported? And maybe I don't get every individual decision right. Personally, I'm certain I don't. I'm a first-time CEO. But am I, how do I evaluate that at a little bit of a higher perspective?
That is a really difficult question to answer, and I love that you're wrestling. I love that you're wrestling with it in like day-to-day ways. I mean, you're seeing this in how you lead, manage, and grow a business. I do think having a very clearly articulated set of both values and principles always is the foundation for decision making. You can and communicating, by the way, as well, and having those to return to often, but then also being just as mindful of the fact that the intersection between values and commerce is a real one, and you have to find ways for those to align and support one another. And you can, but it also requires, I think, listening in different ways. That's one of the things that I've, at every career stop that I have made, I have relearned the importance of listening to all constituencies, listening really carefully to understand from the inside how people feel, what they believe, what value they bring, what challenges they're wrestling with. And I also think that in this instance of the Angel City instance has been invaluable, listening to what our supporters think, listening to what our staff thinks, different parts of the staff think, and certainly listening to and appreciating the player perspective. I don't think you can lead any enterprise successfully without really doing that. It doesn't mean that you're leading by consensus. Most often you're not, but you're leading with a real understanding of the way people across all your stakeholder groups understand to be the value proposition of the enterprise that you're building together.
I actually saw recently that Magic Johnson is an owner of all these successful franchises, and obviously I'm a new baseball fan, but he's obviously a part of that ownership group.
Yeah, of the Dodgers.
And the Dodgers, yes. And
the Spirit, and the Washington Spirit.
Yes, and the Washington Spirit. How important, you reference like the fact that you aren't an elite athlete at the board level, decision-making level. How important do you think the role of an elite athlete's voice in decision making is?
That's a good question. I've been impressed with the team. I expected to be very player-centered, but I've been impressed by the way the league has worked very hard to be player-centered in their thinking and in their decision-making. Did they always get it right? No. But I've been impressed with that so far. Are there athletes in the boardroom? There have been. And there are definitely people with that perspective at the team level. But I think it's incredibly important because that's the enterprise that we're building, right? With players at the core. And if we're not reflecting the needs, desires, and of our players, again, we're not doing it right. We're here to help our players achieve, right, their very highest potential. We want that for them as individuals. We want that for us as a team. We want that for our communities of fans. So I do think the system is set up decently well to make sure that athlete voices are a very important part of the mix.
That's awesome. And that's great to hear.
So Magic Johnson. So I, in the 1990s, did a show called NBA Inside Stuff. My first day on the job, first show that we did, we had just taped and found out that Magic Johnson had just announced he was HIV positive. So I've known him since then. Had to redo the show. One of my first big interviews was with him. My voice was shaking. I was so nervous. And then 10 years later, I was at a different show called CNN Moneyline and doing business news, financial news, and did a long form piece on 10 years after he retired, when he was already an award-winning, successful entrepreneur and businessman who had not just invested and built a series of business, but had really centered his community, the South LA community, in the entire enterprise. So I think in the world of pioneers, he is extraordinary and has really shown what's possible going from player to entrepreneur to business owner to team, now multiple team owner. And I think, by the way, I think we're seeing more athletes as owners. I was just with Alex Rodriguez, who's learning to be an owner as well. So I think there are a lot of athlete voices represented in the mix. Whether they're actually there at our table at any one given period of time is less important than the value of athlete voices is significant and widely recognized.
Amazing.
And in the spirit of athlete voices, I believe you did a study about athlete-owned media. I would love for you to share a little bit about this study, what your learnings were. You had said earlier that the stories are percolating and there's more and more. And here we are on the recap show with the mission to reimagine the way women are seen and experienced in sport. So I'd love for our larger audience to get a little bit of insight from what you learned.
Owning the Narrative is the name of the study. It's the first of its kind academic study done with our Norman Lear Center at USC Annenberg on athlete-owned media. Will not surprise the two of you to know that you are in it as an example of, right, a new generation of athletes who are content creators, decision makers, and monetizers of their own IP. I started noticing this, I don't know, pre-pandemic and was trying to figure out how I could study it because I really felt it was important to be studied and mapped academically, right? To make it real, to make it part of our history of media, not just history of sports media. And it took me a really long time to get it done. Working with our folks at our Lear Center, it is athlete-owned media is now a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. It has reshaped the sports storytelling ecosystem. It will not surprise you all to know that athletes are driving innovation in storytelling formats and platforms, that they are, when we did both a mapping analysis and a content analysis. It will also not surprise you to know that athlete-owned media has opened up the aperture for what's discussed in sports media, or frankly, any kind of media. And when women are involved, the aperture opens even wider. The opportunity for women is massive, because women, it will also not surprise you, have only represent, like when we look at the top 100 podcasts that are produced and owned by athletes, about 22% are female, there's a female on them, or female centered. So we have tons of opportunity. Now that data, I'm really excited to go back and do another data pull in a year or so, because that data is from 2024. And what we all are witnessing right now is a massive influx of incredibly talented women creators in the space. Now, creators and owners are different. We really focused on ownership, and but I think we're going to see that gap narrowing in a few short years. It's so exciting to see what's happening right now for all athletes. But you know how important it is to be able to control your own destiny and to be the decision, not just to be the creators, but to be the decision makers. And it's hard, as you have shared, but it's so important, and also important to benefit from ownership.
It was Tobin's idea to start this podcast, and I did not really ever see myself sitting under these lights. But what I've found is this freedom of my voice in a space that has been safe for me, and a new relationship with the sport, that we can open up the lens of perspective that has been really powerful and inspiring. And I'm very grateful that we have this show. And
so are your fans, by the way. I live in a sea of recap fans.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I have one question, and I have to admit that this was probably the interview I was most nervous for, because I admire you. And usually we're a little...
This was the interview I was most nervous for. Truth.
We're probably a little less professional normally.
I know.
Because
I'm being so well behaved.
Thank you, Tobin. Thank you. Because we admire you so much.
I'm wearing a turtleneck.
What I do, and I think it's important, because I know that in order to, learn and grow, you have to be in situations that you're afraid of or scared or just a little nervous in this case. But I would like to know if you have any feedback for how we did as an interviewer, if you have any feedback on how we could delight and inspire our audience more, as someone who really understands what we're trying to achieve here.
So I hope I don't seem lacking in critical judgment when I tell you that you two are spectacular. And
compliments are my love language.
I was struck when you all came and spoke at school to the women's leadership conference that we had produced, how blown away the audience was by how profound you all are, but also how funny and real. I didn't quite appreciate your comedic timing until I saw you in that space. And so if I have any advice, it's stay the course, right? Because you're clearly being so true to who you are as people, as you explore your voices in this space. And you're already fearless. So don't ever lose that. And particularly with the ability to edit, which I actually think that creates a much safer space and allows you to experiment more in this format than if you didn't have that opportunity, both for your guests and for you all as hosts. And I think it's a great thing to do. And I would love to see you expand the guests that you have on this show. One of the things that I've been so struck by is the women that I have met recently who are breathtaking in their accomplishments, in their perspective, and whether it's people that I know you know well, like Andrea Bremer at Ally, or people that I've just gotten to know, like Emily Prager, who's building Formula One in the Vegas Grand Prix, or Jess Smith, was so instrumental to Angel City's founding and is now building just an extraordinarily valuable franchise with the Valkyries, or Clara Wu Tsai, who's made it her mission to turn the Liberty into $1 billion brand. I mean, I feel like everywhere I look and I listen, I am hearing these incredible voices of women emerging as professionals and leaders in these spaces, now with real muscle behind them. So invite them on.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Last question, because I always get the last one. And it won't be hard, I promise. So our reimaginers, a lot of our reimaginers are Angel City fans because of the values and what this club has meant and how it's been thoughtfully built. When you close your eyes at night and you have a vision for what Angel City is to become, what do you see?
Beloved, valuable, and inspiring brand that our fans are proud of each and every day. They're already proud of you all and what you're accomplishing on the pitch, but for the brand to really, for Angel City to really be loved by people, for its value across all dimensions of value to grow, which includes impact on our community. I think those are the things that are guiding my aspirations for what this team can be. It's already off to an incredible start, but we've got a long, exciting road ahead.
Willow, thank you so much for being on the show and for having this conversation with us. It is a really, really positive thing for all of us in women's sports and women's soccer to have you along for this ride. And I know I can speak on behalf of Tobin and I when I say I hope that we can continue to work together and be in your future.